Hi, budding structural engineers. Welcome to the structural engineering lectures and welcome to the advanced steel design. We are discussing the cold formed light gauge steel structures, analysis and designs. Right? As per the IS 801 1975 Code of Practice for use of cold formed light gauge steel structural members in general building and construction, as well as IS 811 1987 the specifications for cold formed light gauge structural steel sections. In the previous class, we have seen the SP65 1980 Handbook for Structural Engineers number 5 cold form light gauge steel structures. Right? What are the design charts and design tables as applicable to this uh, uh, light gauge steel structures as specified in or conforming to IS 801 1975. Right? Well, students, in today's class, we shall see numeric problems of the light gauge steel structures. What we had in previous class, like this type of building, wherein now we'll try to see the design of a column, design of a beam, a design of wall studs, right? Design of decking, design of other components, design of other components. Right? Now let us move quickly to the top of these. Right? This is how we'll see the design of decking, design of a decking, right? These are the design of a decking, as well as the design of the beams for flexure, right? As well as the design of columns, right? Columns like this, right? And the design of wall studs, right? Like this, that of the different components, right? The different components, right? Or even this design of a wall stud, what should be the spacing of these studs, etc., right? That will examine, and as well as the design of this steel decking, right? With the different types of lips, right? Either like this or like this, right? Uh, these designs we'll try to see, right? Therefore, let us revisit to the design students, right? Now, we'll enter into the designs. We'll enter into the designs, right? This is how the the first design is the design of uh, uh, as per this SP65 1980, right? These are the design examples as given in SP65 1980, right? Here we'll see a sectional member is given like this, right? Where this is a channel with a lipped section like this, right? Now I'm showing an angle with lipped section, right? Like this, right? Then what is given here is a channel with lipped section, right? Lipped section like this, right? And for this channel with lipped section, you need to find out the sectional properties by using linear method of linear method of this section, right? Now, how to do that? Now let us examine, right? Here the channel shape is given, right? Like this. Let me show the channel shape, student, right? One moment. uh, this is how the channel is given, right? These are the channel is given, right? Or these are the channel, right? These are the lipped channel, right? Lipped channel is given, only single channel. Now I'm showing two channels back to back, right? There is a channel is given for which I need to find out the section properties, right? Now all the dimensions are in centimeters here, right? The flange width is 7 centimeters, and the web depth is uh, web depth is 18 centimeters, and the lip dimension is 1.8 centimeter, right? This lip dimension is 1.8 centimeter, and as well as the thickness of this light gauge channel section is 0.2 centimeter, 0.2 centimeter, right? That is how the different dimensions are given, and the radius at curve is zero point 0.3. This one 0.3 is also given, right? 0.3 centimeter, right? Whereas its thickness is equal to 0.2, right? Therefore, for this now we need to calculate the sectional properties, right? However, now the radius is a 0.3 centimeter. Therefore, we'll proceed by the central line method in the linear method. Therefore, the average or mean radius is up to the center line, or central line of this curve is 0.3 plus 0.2 by 2, which works out say 0.4 centimeter, right? And the arc length for this 90-degree curve is equal to 2 pi r by 4, that works out 1.57 multiplied by r. Now substituting r is equal to 0.4, now I'll get 1.57 multiplied by zero point 0.4. It works out say 0.628. Now next one. Once I get this, the distance of the CG from the center of the arc, is given by this formula 0.637 multiplied by r, which is 0.2548. Students, all these formulae we already know from engineering mechanics or strength of material, right, at graduate level, right? And therefore, you just recall all those formulae for the CG of the arc or curve or rectangular sections, etc., right? Therefore, using that now, I'll use this tabular formatted element, dimension, length, distance from x-axis, right, central horizontal axis, right, and the a multiplied by d square, and moment of inertia about its own CG axis, right? Then first component is that of the web. Now it's a length excluding this curved portion, because this curved portion is 0.3 plus 0.2, 0.5. Therefore, if I deduct zero point 0.5 centimeter, 0.5 centimeter on either side from 18, it now works out as 17. Therefore, there is no record here, 17 centimeter, that CG, because that it's a CG itself is lying with the CG of this symmetrical. This is what called point symmetric section. Point symmetric section about the axis of the bending, x-axis, right? Then there is our distance is equal to 0. Therefore, that AD square means, now to start with we will take only length, later on we will multiply with the thickness. Therefore, that length multiplied by d square is equal to 0. However, the moment of inertia about its own CG axis of this vertical member, vertical web is B is equal to 0.2, that will come later, right? 0.2 multiplied by d cubed by 12, right? Therefore, d means 17 cubed by 12. Now it works out say 409.42, right? Like that. Now that of the lips, we do have the two lips, right? After direction of that 0.5, from 1.8, it works out say 1.3, 1.3. Therefore, here one lip, even in the compression zone, another lip. Therefore, there are 1.2 multiplied by 2, 1.3 multiplied by 2 lips, and the total length, it now works out 2.6, that of these two lips, right? Like this, right? That of these two lips, like this, right? These are the channel section, student, right? What now I'm showing is that of these two lips is equal to right here 1.3, here 1.3, here 1.3 and 1.3. This is how the channel section is given, right? Now 2.6. However, the distance from the centroidal x-axis, is equal to this 9 minus this minus 0.65, right? Means sorry, 9 minus 1.8 divided by 2, right? Sorry, 9 minus 0.2 minus 1.3 by 2. Now it works out to 7.85, right? Now next one is that a means length 2.6 multiplied by this distance 7.85 whole square, it works out 160.22, and moment of inertia of these lips about their own axis, right? B is 0.2 multiplied by 1.3 whole cubed by 12, that works out say 0.36, right? And that of the corners, there are 4 corners, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 corners like this, whose lengths are 0.628. we already calculated that. There are 4 such corners, therefore total length is equal to 2.51, and the distance of these corners, right, is equal to 9 minus this 0.25. It works out say 8.25, or say that L multiplied by d square is equal to 192.17 centimeter square. And however, the moment of inertia is using this parallel axis, that of the flanges, right? two flanges, 6 multiplied by 1.2, 6 multiplied by 1.2, the total length is equal to 12. That the CG from the x-axis is equal to 9 minus 0.1. 9 minus 0.1 means 8.9. Therefore, that length multiplied by d square, it works out 950.52. Therefore, the summation of these L multiplied by d square is equal to 1302.91, and moment of inertia about its own central axis is equal to 409.78. Therefore, the summation of these two is equal to 1712.69. And similarly, the total length is equal to 34.11 centimeter. 34.11 centimeter. Now, however, this is need to be multiplied with the thickness so as to get the area. Hence, I am multiplying this 34.11 with the thickness of this element 0.2 centimeter. Therefore, now we get 6.822 centimeter square, and that of the moment of inertia also, right, is equal to 0.2 multiplied by 17.12. Sorry, 1712.69. It works out say 342.54 centimeter to the power 4. Then once I get that, now I calculate the section modulus is moment of inertia divided by extreme fiber distance. The extreme fiber distance from this figure is equal to 9 centimeters. Therefore, dividing with 9, now I get it's a 38.06 centimeter cube. And therefore, the radius of gyration is equal to square root of I divided by A. Substituting with, now I get 7.09 centimeter. And neglecting the curves, the quantities are like this. The total length means I'll take everything as a rectangle, right? Therefore, this is a 18 minus 0.2, right? 17.8 plus this 6.8, right? 2 multiplied by 6.8 and 2 multiplied by that 6.8 plus 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1.7. It now works out to total length of 34.8 centimeter. Therefore, the area is equal to 6.96 centimeter square. However, by taking exactly the curves, I got 6.82. However, neglecting that curves by taking them as perfectly 90 degrees using centerline diagram or that of the linear method, I am getting 6.96, just 2.05 percentage more. Therefore, the error is equal to 2.05 because 6.96 minus 6.822 divided by this original value of 6.82, that works out around 2.05. This is very nominal, very small value. Therefore, it may be neglected. Hence, it proves that the linear method can be used for getting the areas. Now, if that is true, then let me check what is the moment of inertia also. Therefore, by taking all the neglecting the curves, now I am getting the moment of inertia that of the web b d cubed. Later on, I will multiply with this thickness 0.2, right? Therefore, d 17.8 whole cubed by 12, and that of the flanges about its own axis is negligible. However, transferred to the central axis using parallax system theorem. There are two such flanges, 6.8 multiplied by 2, which are at a distance of 8.9. Therefore, the moment of inertia is transferred using parallel axis theorem, and there are the two lips. There are the two lips whose moment of inertia about its own axis is equal to 2 multiplied by 1.7 by 12 square, whereas transferred using parallel axis theorem 2 multiplied by 1.7 at a distance of 8.05. Therefore, that is how the moment of inertia per unit thickness works out 1768.38, whereas if I multiply with that thickness 0.2, now I'll get the moment of inertia as 353.67 centimeter to the power 4, whereas by taking the exact shape with curved shapes like this, right, I got the moment of inertia as 342.54. Therefore, the error is equal to 353.61 minus 342.54 divided by 342.54. It works out as 3.24 percentage error. Therefore, even in the area, we got just a very nominal error 2.05, and in the moment of inertia also I am getting very nominal error 3.24. Therefore, the linear method can be used. I hope, student, you understood the discussion how to calculate the sectional properties of this given lipped channel section. Right? That is how the lipped channel section was shown, right, in the previous problem. Now, let's move to the next problem. Right? Intermediate span roof deck intermediate span roof deck, right? Now this is how the profile is illustrated in figure. This figure 39 forms a roof deck. The gap in the top plate is limited to 25. This is 25, limited to 25 to enable fiber boards and similar roof insulation to be used without danger of piercing, right? It is required to determine the first bit, the moment of resistance of this section as governed by the bending criteria, and the second one is the moment of inertia of this profile for deflection computations, right? That is how the profile is given, right? Here the flange is 250, and this trough or that of that this web is 25, whose depth is equal to 65, and the thickness of this entire profile is equal to 1.2 centimeters. All the dimensions are in centimeters, student. Sorry, all the dimensions are in mm, right? There's a typographical error here. All the dimensions are in mm, 1.2 mm, right? And the depth is 65. However, let us see this in the schematic, student, right? Like this, right? This is what exactly we are trying to do, right? This is how the decking over which the shear connectors will be connected, and over which the concrete slab will be put, which is supported on the beam, right? Either laterally supported beam. Now this is called laterally supported beam, right? Or this is how exactly the decking. For this problem, what I am showing is this decking, right? Therefore, what is the moment of inertia of this? Moment of resistance. How much of movement it resists for this decking? It is asked, right? And also that of the moment of inertia of means this part of the decking, right? Here, I do have this part, right? Therefore, that decking is now shown. Now this decking is now shown, right here. This part of this decking, right, is now shown here to some exaggerated view here, right? Like this, right? Therefore, what is that moment of resistance of this section, right? Of this profile, right? Also understood this schematic, student. Now let me just move to the numerics, right? Therefore, there is a 250 is given for the flange, for the flange, like this, right? Whereas this is 25 and this is 65. These dimensions are given, right? Or let me also show one more schematic, where I have this one, right? This is what exactly we are trying to do, right? This is what exactly the section resembles, right? The section resembles this one. What now I'm showing is this, right? This is of that section, right? This is 250, and this is 25, and this is 65. Therefore, what is the mode of resistance of this section, right? I hope you understood the exact section, right? Therefore, once we see the section profile, student, right? Now here this is 25, therefore half of that is equal to 12.5 on either side, right? And its thickness is equal to 1.2, and its depth is equal to 65, and its depth is equal to 65, right? This one. Then uh, also the from end up to the end of this curved portion is equal to 2.4, right? 2.4. Therefore, rest is the straight portion of this flange, which is now 222.6, right? That is how the flange portion, right? Whereas from end of this web to this end of this web is equal to 227.4, 227.4. Now once I see all these dimensions, student, now I need to get what is the effective width of this flange, whether entire flange is effective or any part of that is ineffective. That if at all that is ineffective, now that will be shown in dotted color, right, in the central portion, right? Remaining b by 2 is only effective on either side of this portion, right? The dotted portion indicates that has totally yielded. It has totally, all the fibers are yielded, and they cannot take any stresses further. They cannot take any stresses further because of their small thicknesses, right? Now let us calculate the sectional property, student, right? First, I want to calculate what is the moment of resistance of this section. Now, as an approximation, will take this curved portion of radius r is equal to 1 mm, with the thickness of t, right, and also another right thickness, right. Now I'll replace that with a linear method with exactly 90 degrees, right, 90 degrees. That is how the linear method is now also adopted, as you already shown in the previous problem, right. It can be used successfully without any much error, right. Now I'll calculate the effective design width of that flange as per this class 5.2.1.1. Now let me revisit 5211, right. This is a 5211 for load determination elements, right. I am there in IS 801, 1975 student, right, 1975. Elements without intermediate stiffness for load determination. The flanges are fully effective. B is equal to W up to W by T limb is equal to 1435 divided by square root of F. Otherwise, for flanges with W by T larger than W by T limb, V by T is divided by 2120 divided by square root of F. 1 minus 4065 divided by W by T square root of F. Therefore, using this formula, now I'll calculate what is that effective design width. However, from this figure, now we can see that we do have the effective width. Effective means that flat width. Sorry, this flat width is equal to 222.6. Horizontal portion of this plane is equal to 222.6. Therefore, I'll just recall that. Therefore, that is what 220. This is how from class 5.2.1.1. W is equal to 22.26, not 17.26 student, right. There is a typographical error here, right. 22.26 divided by its thickness is equal to 0.12. Now I'll get 185.5, not 143.83. However, W by T limiting is equal to 1435 divided by square root of F, right, square root of F, right. Therefore, that now works out, say, a value upon substitution. However, that F is now assumed, right, assumed as an first approximation. The compressive bending stress as an first approximation is assumed as a 730 kg force per centimeter square, or approximately 73 Newton per mm square, right. That is what we already assumed. Therefore, that divided by 1435 divided by square root of F, that's 730. Therefore, now it works out say a value now let us see first this W by T is equal to 22.26 divided by 0.12. It works out say 185.5 student, right. Therefore, now this W by T limb is 1435 divided by square root of 730 is still 53.1. However, you please see that here the W by T actual 185.5, W by T actual 185.5 is much greater than 53.3, much greater than 53.3. Therefore, I need to use the other formula, right, as we have seen here, right. Therefore, that is not satisfied. Therefore, W by T larger than W by T limb. Therefore, V by T is given by 2120 divided by square root of F. 1 minus 465 divided by W by T square root of F. Using that, now I am substituting here, right, student. 2120 divided by square root of 230. 1 minus 435 divided by W by T. W by T is this value of 185.5. 185.5 square root of F. Now this works out, say, a value of V by T 71.18, not 69, but 71.18, right. There is a calculation mistake here, right. Now, however, even alternatively, what you can do is from this design chart of this SP65 1980. In the previous class, we have seen these design charts and design tables. Please refer back to that discussion, student, right. You go to design chart or figure 25A of this same SP65, right. Alternatively, then also you can find what is B by T. Then also it is working out some 69 for this erroneous value. However, the exact value is equal to 71.18. Therefore, once I get B by T, now I'll calculate the width. B is equal to 71.18 multiplied by thickness 0.12. Therefore, it works out 8.46 8.54, not 8.28 student, it works out to 8.54. Therefore, the effective, the effective width, total effective width B is equal to this 8.54 plus 2 multiplied by the thicknesses on either side. 2 multiplied by thicknesses, right? Now, let me revisit to write this one, right? Therefore, this plus, right, here half the thickness, here half the thickness. Therefore, this is what effective, this is rest of the, this one is ineffective, right? Ineffective, right? That is how that now works out say 8.78, not 8.52, 8.78. B effective is 8.78 totally, right? Out of let us revisit this, right? Therefore, out of 222.6, 8.78 is only effective, right? 8.78 divided by 2 means 4.36 here. 4.36 centimeter is only effective. Rest of the central portion has already yielded, and it will not be effective. That is what called ineffective area. Only at the ends, this b by 2 and this b by 2 is only effective, right? That is how b by 2 plus b by 2, that is b. This much of length is only effective. 8.78 is only effective. Therefore, the area of all these elements, right? This 8.78 multiplied by 0.12, 8.78 multiplied by 0.12 plus 6.5, that of the flanges. That of the flanges is equal to 8.78 multiplied by 12, that of these webs, right? Two webs, 6.5 multiplied by 2 multiplied by thickness of 0.12, and that of the lips, that of the curved portion here, right? These curved portions, right? They are 1.125 or approximately 1.13. There are two such curved portions, right, with the thickness of 0.12 centimeter, right? Now, therefore, it works out is a 2.853 centimeter square. Therefore, the moment of inertia of moment of area. Moment of area about the top fiber of this area of these elements is equal to now the previous area 1.022, and where it is located, it is its perpendicular distance is equal to that 1.12 divided by 2, right? 0.06, because the reference itself is top fiber, right? Similarly, the top these webs are at a distance of 3.25, because 6.5 divided by 2 is equal to 3.25. Similarly, that of the bottom chord portion is equal to 2.71, which is there at a distance of 6.5 minus 0.1. Therefore, it works out 6.4. Therefore, the amount of area, the first amount of area about the top fiber will work out 6.865 centimeter square. Therefore, now the CG of this entire section with respect to the top fiber, this y distance, we will now work out right, the first amount of area divided by the area, right? Summation of AI YI divided by AI, summation of AI YI divided by AI, which you already seen in engineering mechanics, right? Therefore, substituting, we now get 2.406 centimeter. However, now I'll calculate for this 2.406, what will the compressive stress at that level. Therefore, 2.406 multiplied by the permissible value is equal to 1250, because the permissible value is equal to 0.6 multiplied by Fi is given as 2100. Therefore, 0.6 multiplied by 2100 is equal to 1260, or code says that it is 1250, right? Either of the two is true, no problem, right? For that, divided by this 6.5 minus that of the tension fiber distance, 6.5 minus 2.406. Therefore, the stress in the compression fiber is 734.6 kg per centimeter square, or it is approximately 73.4 Newton per mm square. Once I see this, now let let me see, since the assumed stress, what you assumed in the previous first trial is 730. Now almost I'm getting here and there the same value, 734, right? Therefore the assumed value is approximately the same what we have obtained from these elaborate calculations. Therefore the actual stress is more or less. Therefore the sectional properties what you have calculated are true, there is no modification, there is no second trial of calculation is needed. Therefore now I'll calculate the moment of inertia of this profile, right? And therefore the moment of inertia of that of the profile, that of the two webs, 2 multiplied by 6.5 multiplied by 1.2, right? 2 multiplied by b is a point 0.12 multiplied by b d cubed, d is 6.5 whole cubed by 12, by taking linear method, right? That of the two webs, right? And that of this this 1.56 multiplied by 0.844, right? I'm just recalling this, right? From this side, 1.56 is this side, 6.5 multiplied by 0.12 multiplied by this one, right? That multiplied by 0.844, and next one is that of these curves is equal to 0.271 multiplied by 3.974 whole square, 3.971 whole square, and plus 1.024 multiplied by 2.286 whole square, right? Right? Therefore it now works out totally 15.96 centimeter to the power 4. Therefore the section modulus is nothing but this m, z is equal to this I by y. However, extreme fiber distance is 6.5 minus 2.406. This is approximately 4.0946. That of the extreme fiber in tension zone, right? Therefore, now I'll get the section modulus as 3.967 centimeter cube. Therefore, the moment of resistance of this section m is equal to Fz. F, the permissible stress is, we can permit up to 1250 as per this code, and Z is equal to 3.967 centimeter cube. Therefore it now works out 4958 kg force per centimeter, right? Kg force means multiplied by 10, centimeter is also 10. Therefore if I multiply with 100 and divide with 10.6, I'll get this in terms of kilonewton meter, very small value, 0.4958 kilonewton meter, very small movement of resistance, right? That is how these light gauge steel profiles will resist very less movement, right? However, for this 250, however, if you want more movement of resistance, then you can change these dimensions, 250 to very closer dimension, maybe some 120 or so, right? Then you get more moment of resistance. You can calculate afresh, right? That is how. Next bit is that of the moment of inertia for deflection calculations, right? However, the actual sectional properties at a design load are always larger than those computed for the load determination. Correspondingly, the actual top fiber stress is less than that computed for load determination and will be assumed. Hence, in the previous case we have assumed as 730. Now I am assuming because this is less, I am assuming it to be say 600 kg force per centimeter square as a first trial, right? Therefore, in such a case, now I'll calculate what is the W by T lim as per this class 5.2.1.1. W by T, we have already seen in the previous calculation also. W is 22.26 divided by 0.12, it is 185.5, student, right? And whereas B by T as per this class is equal to 2710 divided by square root of F. F is just assumed as 600. Therefore, that multiplied by 1 minus 600 divided by this W by T multiplied by square root of F. From this class 5.2.1.1, right? This formula. Therefore, substituting into this formula, now I'll get this result as say V by T is equal to 96.02, student, right? Therefore 96.02, not not this value 75.12, right? Right. However, the W by T is equal to 185.5, whereas W by T, because this W by T 185.5 is greater than 75.82, sorry, this 75.82 W by T lim using this 1850, 1850 is for the deflection, right? Previously we saw for the load determination it was 1435, whereas for the deflection it is 1850. Please make a note, student, right? That W by T lim 1850 divided by square root of f, it works out 75.52. However, W by T is equal to 185.5, which is much greater than 75.52. Therefore, now I'll use this second set of formula. Therefore, because W by T is larger than W by T lim, therefore V by T is given by 2710 divided by square root f 1 minus 600 divided by W by T square root f, right? Substituting into this formula, now I get this W by T is equal to 96.02. Therefore, sorry, B by T is equal to 96.02. Therefore, B is equal to 96.02 multiplied by that thickness, right? Therefore, if I do that, now I'll get that B is equal to 11.52 centimeter, 11.52, right? Not 11.04, student, right? The thickness is equal to 0.12 centimeter, right? There is a calculation error here, not 11.04, but it works out 11.52. Therefore, the effective width will be calculated now, right? How? Like this, right? Therefore, now the total effective width is equal to this this value 11.52 plus 2 multiplied by 0.12. Therefore, it works out to say 11.76. Therefore, the area of this profile is equal to this 11.76, right? 11.76 multiplied by 0.12 plus 6.5 multiplied by 2 such webs are there of thickness 0.12 and 2 curves of 1.125 multiplied by 0.12, right? It now works out instead of 3.185, it works out 3.243 square centimeter, right? Therefore, the amount of area about the top fiber, right? That of this first one is this say 1.354 multiplied with first movement is equal to 0.06, and that of this 1.56 that of these webs is equal to 3.25 plus that of the two curves 0.271, which are located in distance of the CG 6.4. Therefore, it now works out say 6.885, right? However, there is a small change in this value, student, right? There is a small change in this value, right? Because this area, just now it worked out. That worked out 3.242. However, that change is very small. Therefore, actually I have not modified here this numeric value, right? This is not exactly 1.354. It is just a different value, right? But nevertheless, the values are here and there the same, right? Therefore, once I get this amount of area about this top fiber as 6.885 centimeters square, then I'll get what is the CG, right? What is the CG? Therefore, y is equal to summation of AI yi divided by AI. Therefore, we know already that AI is equal to, we already got in the previous calculation as 3.243. Therefore, if I divide with that, now I'll get approximately 2.161 centimeter. Therefore, what is that compressive stress at that level? 2.16 multiplied by permissible stress of 1250 divided by the extreme fiber distance 6.5 minus 2.161. That works out say 622.5 kg per centimeter square. Therefore, here this, however, what you assumed in the first assumption is that you assumed the for this load determination the fiber stresses of 600 kg per centimeter square, but with detailed calculations I am proving that fiber stresses in the compression fiber almost is equal to 622.5. Therefore, our assumption is correct. Therefore, whatever that sectional properties we got are correct. Therefore, the amount of area of this profile, sorry, moment of inertia of this profile is equal to that of the webs 2 multiplied by 6.5 whole cube divided by 1 multiplied by 0.12, and that of the flanges, right, 1.56 multiplied by 1.084 whole square plus 0.271 multiplied by 4.219 whole square plus 1.354 multiplied by 2.041 whole square. I think you know how to calculate the amount of inertia of a given section, student, right? I'll not explain that elaborately. Therefore, it works out 17.807 centimeter to the power 4, centimeter to the power 4, right? That is the moment of inertia of this profile, moment of inertia of this profile, right? Now, compared to that of the previous moment of inertia is equal to 15.96, 15.96. Now I do have increased moment of inertia 17.87. Previously it was 15.96. Now I do have 15.807. Please make a note of that, right? Therefore, moment of inertia for deflections will be increasing, right? Now here it has increased, right? Now next one is check for flange curling, right? Therefore, whether these flanges will be curling, whether they will be coming towards the web, right? This is how the curling. This is what called flange curling, right? Flange curling, right? That check now will make, right? Therefore, the fiber stresses at the design load as computed, just now we have calculated, it is around 622.5 kg per centimeter square, student. Therefore, the average stress is equal to 622.5 multiplied by this area. Just now we have calculated this total effective width of 11.28, right? Actually, that as per the exact calculation is not 11.28, student, right? It is actually 11.76, right? 11.76. That divided by this 17.74 original value, right? Therefore, if I take that, now I get the value FAV is equal to FC is equal to 622.5 multiplied by original value is equal to 11.76 divided by 22.76, not 17.74. Even there is a typographical error here, right? It is not 17.74, student, right? Even there is a typographical error. Therefore, both are errors, right? Therefore, 11.76 divided by 22.26, it works out say 329.42, 329.42. Therefore, now I'll calculate what is that maximum width, W maximum is equal to 22.26 divided by 2, 11.13, not 8.63, student, right? Therefore, however, as per this class 5.2.3.d, 523D, right? Let's revisit that, right? 523D, right? Now, this is all the total specification, student, 523D. This is what I am saying, right? Unusually wide flanges. There, either for stiffened or unstiffened, WF is given by square root of 126.500 TD divided by FAV, fourth root of 100 CF divided by D. Therefore, using this formula, now what I'll say is, right? I'm just recall the same formula, student, right? Where I do have this W maximum given by that formula, is equal to, right? I'm substituting here. Only here W maximum is already calculated as 8.63. Therefore, however, only unknown here is equal to CF. What is CF? What is CF is where the CF is the amount of the curling. However, the code says that the amount of the curling can be tolerated will vary with the different kinds of the sections and shall be established by the designers. Amount of curling in the order of 5% of the depth of the section is usually not considered excessive, means that is acceptable, right? Now let me check whether it is excessive or not, right? Therefore, that amount of curling CF, right? Because W maximum is already known, which is 8.63. Therefore, substituting all these numeric values, what is the thickness, what is the depth, FAV, everything. Now I'll get CF, right? Amount of curling is equal to 0.24 centimeter. Therefore, now I have this exact value of CF given by this not 8.63, student, right? It is 11.13 whole to the power 4 multiplied by even this is not 395, this is 329.42 whole square divided by 126.5 whole square multiplied by 10 to the power 8 multiplied by 0.12 whole square, that thickness whole square multiplied by d 6.5. It now works out, say 0.0111 centimeter, not 0.24 centimeter, student, right? There is a calculation error here. Therefore, this 0.0111 is much less than 5% of the total depth, which is 0.05 multiplied by 6.5, 0.325. However, 0.0111 is much less than 0.325. Therefore, what now we can conclude as per this total specification is that this is less than the permissible value. Hence, curling on the flanges will not be a problem, right? Curling will not happen. If this is more than that 5%, obviously the curling will happen like this, right? This is what the curling. Now you can see the flanges, they themselves are going towards the CG of this web, right? This is what called the curling of the flanges. Curling of the flanges, student, right? That will not happen, right? Now, next one. Therefore, that is how the check for the curling also. I hope, student, you are understanding these discussions, right? Now, let us see this third problem. Right, where the design example of improved roof deck, right? Here to determine the carrying capacity and the other pertinent properties of the profile shown in figure 41. This is of the figure 41. All the dimensions are in mm. Right, now what is asked is this design example will illustrate the manner in which the structural development works. More economical shapes can be produced in successive designs, right? In the previous design example, out of this total flat width of 143.8 times thickness, only 75 times the thickness is structurally effective, right? Remaining was ineffective. Therefore, it is evident that the metal is not effectively used, economically used, right? Therefore, it is apparent that the top flange efficiency may be improved by providing an intermediate stiffener like this. You please see this intermediate stiffener, right? Just in the form of a U shape, right here, right? Midway between the ribs, between these ribs, right, of 50 by 65, right? These are called ribs, right? Now, however, as a result of this improvement in the efficiency of the compression plane, the neutral axis will shift closer to the flanges, right? However, the best location of the neutral axis is close to the mid depth of as far as possible to minimize the amount of unstressed material. However, now let us say it is also necessary to prevent damage to the roof insulation material, that the gap in the top plate should not exceed 25 25 mm, right? That is all. And to do this, to add material to the bottom flange, wedge shaped ribs, these wedge shaped ribs are added now, are provided, right? That is how the profile, student, right? The center of these ribs is equal to 250 and depth of this rib is equal to 65 and its width is equal to 50, and the thickness of this profile is equal to 1.2, right? And that of this stiffener, the depth of the stiffener is equal to 15 mm, as well as the width is equal to 15 mm, right? This is how all the different dimensions, right? Now let us see this schematically, student, right? This is how the previous profile we have seen without that intermediate stiffener. Now this is how this profile what we are now discussing is this type of profile, right? You just see this in the inverted format, right? Therefore, we would have a rib here, right? A stiffener here, in the middle length, right? In the middle length, we would have a stiffener, right? Whereas this is that rib, right, of 50 width and 65 depth, right? There are two ribs here. There are two ribs in this profile what I am showing. However, in the problem only one rib is there. One rib is there, right? That is how the the calculations need to be done afresh, right? Even I need to calculate the moment of inertia also, right? Moment of inertia. Now you please see that how above that ribs the steel reinforcement, steel minimum reinforcement will be put, and the concreting will be done. And even these ribs can be used for the insertion of these electrical pipings are others also, right? There is an advantage. There is a advantage, right? That is all the uh, advantage of these profiles, right? Now once we see this, let us see the uh, numeric substitution. Students said only one stiffener is there. In the photograph what I have shown, there are two stiffeners, but here only one stiffener is there. Therefore these are the different dimensions. These are the different dimensions, right? Therefore the 15, this 15 plus this 1.2 up to the end of this curved portion, we now work out 17.4. 17.4. Even here we do have here 50 divided by 2 means 25. Therefore 25. Even that curved portion is 2.4. Therefore now if I deduct from 250 this these dimensions. Now I'll have a width of 103.9, which is perfectly the horizontal width of this flange that you can work out on your own, right? Now, which is self-explanatory, right? Each of these will work out 103.9 and 103.9 as shown here, right? 103.9, 103.9, right? Once we see the profile and the dimensioning part, now let us see allowable resisting movement. If I want to calculate the allowable resisting movement, right? Uh, and then in the first bit, the actual moment of inertia of these stiffeners, right? The area of these elements, right? We do have the one stiffener, right, with 2 multiplied by 0.12s, right? These 2 multiplied by these 0.12s with a depth of 15, with a depth of this 15, 1.5. All these are in centimeters, right? Therefore 2 multiplied by 0.12 and the thickness is equal to 0.12, and that 15 means 2 multiplied by 1.5 multiplied by its thickness is equal to 0.12, and that curved portion 1 multiplied by 1.26 multiplied by 0.12. Therefore the summation of all these will now work out 0.54 centimeter square, student. And the movement of this first movement of this area about the bottom flange of this stiffened part. Now we are calculating the CG of this part, student, and just now we have calculated the area, right, of that of these two, that of this and of this curved portion, right? Now I'll calculate the first moment of this area. Therefore it now works out, say that 0.0288 multiplied by 1.44, 0.036 multiplied by 0.75, because that 1.5 divided by 2.75, and 0.1512 multiplied by 1.12 divided by 2, say 0.06. Therefore the summation will now work out 0.32 centimeter cube, right? Now once I get this, therefore now I'll calculate where the CG is, right? Therefore the CG is given by summation of AIYI divided by this AI. Therefore substituting which, now I'll get 0.32 divided by 0.54, approximately 0.6 centimeter. Therefore it is a CG from the bottom fiber of this stiffener is at 0.6 or 6 mm, whereas the total depth of this is equal to 15. Therefore I have calculated the CG of this stiffener at a distance of 0.6 or 6 mm, right? Hence the moment of inertia. Now you can calculate. I'll not go through this moment of inertia, student. You know how to calculate the moment of inertia. Now it works out, say 0.074 centimeter to the power 4. Now next one, the central portion with all necessary dimensions is already shown in the figure, right? That is how you know how to calculate these dimensions at 103.9, how we have arrived, right? You can calculate, right? Therefore it's already shown in the figure. For simplicity, the properties are computed only using the linear method for this central portion, right? Now let us calculate what is that W by T for this central portion 103, because it's 103.9. 103.9 is the width and its thickness is equal to 1.2. Therefore this works out, say 86.58. Therefore assuming a stress of 590 as a first trial at the top flange, for this F is equal to 590 kg 4 per centimeter square, and W by T just now we obtained 86.58. Therefore, from design chart of figure 25A of this SP65 or alternatively from class 5.2.1.2, this 5.2.1.2, I'll just revisit that 5.2.1.2, right? This one, student, right? Sorry, this code specification, right? Multiple stiffened elements and wide stiffened elements with edge stiffeners, right? Where flat width ratio exceeds 60, then B divided by T is equal to V by T minus 0.1 multiplied by W by T minus 0.6, right? And if W by T is between 60 and 90, then A effective is equal to alpha multiplied by AST, where alpha is equal to 3 minus 2 multiplied by BE divided by W, 1 minus 30 multiplied by 1 minus BE by W multiplied by W by T, right? W by T. That is how I'm just recalling this formula, student, right? And I'm substituting here, right? Therefore, now I'm getting this from this class 5.2.1.2. I've just written this formula and I'm substituting what is B, what is T, everything. Now I'm getting this B prime T, B prime T is equal to 65.41. Therefore, B prime is equal to 65.41 multiplied by T. The thickness is equal to 0.12, and now I'll get 65.41 multiplied by 0.12 means 7.85. Therefore, what is that alpha? That alpha, as per this, just now we have seen 5.2.1.2, 5.2.1.2. Therefore, or alternatively, the alpha from the table 2 of this SP65 can also be used. If you want to use this design table, then W by T is already known of 86.5 and B by T is 68. B by T is 68. Therefore, for these W by T and B by T, I do have alpha is equal to 0.82 from table 2. Or alternatively, what you can do is you go to this formula, right? What is that formula? Alpha is given by this formula. 3 minus 2 divided by BEW multiplied by 1 minus 30 multiplied by 1 minus BE by W multiplied by W by T, right? W by T. Therefore, either of the two will give the same result, right? Therefore, now that alpha will work out, say, 0.82. Therefore, the effective area of this stiffener is this 82% of that area we already got in the previous calculation as 0.54, student, right? I'm just recalling that area of that stiffener. Therefore, it now works out 0.4428 centimeter square. Therefore, the effective width of this top flange, is equal to the excluding the stiffeners, right, is equal to 2 multiplied to 7.85. This B prime is equal to 7.85 plus 1 plus 0.12. However, on either side, therefore it is 15.94 is only effective. Out of this 250, out of this 25 centimeter, 15.94 is only effective, right? 159.2 is only effective, right? Right? That much is only effective, excluding the stiffness, right? Therefore, that is how the calculation, right? Then once I do that, now I'll calculate the CG of this compression flange also, like this, right? That of the top flange, right? This 15.94 just now we obtained, right? Effective width of this top flange excluding the stiffness is equal to 15.94. Instead of 250, I do have only 15.94. Please make a note, right? For that 15.94 0.12, the area is equal to 1.912. Like that, the distance from top fiber is equal to 0.12 divided by 2.06 and A multiplied by Y. Like that, you please see the stiffness area and it's a distance from the top fiber, right? 1.8 divided by 2, right? That works out A multiplied by Y bar. That are the webs, 2 multiplied by 6.5 multiplied by 0.12, 1.56, which are located at 6.5 divided by 2, 3.25. Therefore, A multiplied by Y is equal to 5.07. That are the bottom flanges, right? Two bottom flanges of 2.2 multiplied by that of the this bottom flanges, right? That of these, right? That of these bottom flanges, 2, right? 2 multiplied 2.38 with the thickness of 0.12, it works out 0.5712. The distance from the top fiber is equal to 6.5 minus this 0.02 by 2. It works out 6.49. Say a multiplied by y is equal to 3.68. Therefore, summation of all the areas is equal to 4.487 centimeter square, and a multiplied by y, summation of a y is equal to 9.263 centimeter cube. Therefore, where the CG of this flange lies is equal to summation of AIY divided by A. It works out at 2.064. 2.064. Therefore, what is the compressive stress at that level? FC is equal to 1250 multiplied by 2.064 divided by that tension fiber distance, 6.4 minus 2.064. It works out around 581.8. However, what you assumed, our assumption is 590. 590 was our assumption, but we have ended with exact calculation as approximately 582. Therefore, almost our assumption is correct. Therefore, you need not do with another trial, another iteration, right? Therefore, now I'll calculate means the assumed permissible stress is correct. Therefore, all the effective width is also correct, and all the effective sectional areas are also correct. Therefore, the moment of inertia, now you can calculate on your own, student. I'll not explain. It works out at 22.416 centimeter to the power 4. Therefore, the section modulus is equal to I divided by extreme fiber distance is 6.5 minus 2.064. It works out at 4.435. That of the tension fiber. That of the tension fiber, right? This tension fiber, right? Therefore, that gives 5.054 centimeter square. Therefore, the permissible moment of resistance or moment of resistance of this section is equal to M is equal to F. F is equal to 1250, and Z is equal to 5.04. That works out say 6317.5 kg per centimeter, or it is approximately 0.63 kilonewton meter, 0.63 kilonewton meter, right? Whereas with the provision of one stiffener we have 0.63, but in the previous case you please see that the moment of resistance was only 0.4958 without provision of these stiffeners for this problem, right? For the same problem, by providing the stiffener, an intermediate stiffener of just 15 by 15, right? The moment of resistance increased. The moment of resistance increased from 0.4958 kilonewton meter to a value of say approximately a value of 0.6317 kilonewton meter. There is a tremendous increase. Right? There is a addition of the stiffeners will increase the amount of resistance. Right? Now, next one. I hope you understood this discussion, student. Now, next one is the moment of inertia for deflection calculations. Whereas for deflection calculation, as per this W by T, we already calculated 103.9 divided by that 1.2 is equal to 86.58, right? Therefore, assuming a lesser stress actually, right? In the previous case, we assumed around some 559. We assumed around 590 student, right? We assumed previously approximately we assumed around 590. I'm assuming now a lesser value of say 520. Therefore, the B by T for deflection calculation is 80.5 for this W by T. From this design chart of this SP65 figure number 26A, or alternatively you can go to this class of IS 801, class number 5.2.1.2, just now I have shown in the previous discussion, right? Therefore, B prime D. Now, if I calculate as I already explained in the previous step, you just revisit that. It works out 77.85. Therefore, B prime is equal to 77.85 multiplied by T 0.12. It works out say 9.34. Therefore, the effective area reduction factor alpha from either from table 2 are from the same class 5.2.1.2, right? In either of this case, it works out say 0.94. Therefore, the effective area of this stiffener 0.94 multiplied by that area of the stiffener. That area of the stiffener, it worked out already 0.54. I'm just revisiting that 0.54. Therefore, that 0.94 relation factor multiplied by 0.54 is equal to 0.507 centimeter square. Therefore, the total width of this flange is equal to 2 multiplied by this 9.34 plus uh, 0.12. It works out 18.92. Whereas in the previous case, this flange for the sorry this for the load calculation, it was just 15.94, whereas now for the deflection calculation it has improved from 15.94 to 18.92. That is how the increased total width of this flange. Once you get that total width of that flange, student, out of 250, 18.92 is the effective, right? It has improved. Therefore, now you can get what is that moment of inertia. I think I'll not go to this table. You are already aware of this, right? The moment of first area, right? All the areas of the top flange, stiffener, web, bottom flange will work out say 4.908 centimeter square, and that of the first moment of that area will work out 9.322 centimeter cube. Therefore, where the CG lies, it lies at 1.899 centimeter. However, therefore, what is that compressive stress at that level is equal to 1250 multiplied to 1.899 divided by 6.5 minus 1.899. It works out say 515.92. However, what you assumed is 520. However, we ended with approximately 516. Therefore, our assumption is correct. Therefore, all these calculations what we had, effective width calculations, are correct, and all the sectional properties are correct. Therefore, the moment of inertia, it now works out. I think I'll not go through this. You know how to calculate the moment of inertia. It now works out say 28.416, because this is not 18.92, student, right? Because there was an error. Therefore, if there was an error, therefore if I delete that error, now it works out instead of 28.2 there was no error. Now it works out moment of inertia same, right? 28.284. However, this moment of inertia for load calculation was 22.416. Let us see this, right? 22.416, like this. 22.416 only, right? Therefore, now the moment of inertia has increased from 22.416 to 28.284, approximately 6 centimeter to the power 4 divided by 22, right? 6 divided by 22 multiplied by 100. So approximately the increment is say around 25 percentage increment in the moment of inertia. That is how very considerable amount of increase in the moment of inertia for just by adding this Webb stiffener, right? That is how the by adding this stiffener. Just in this figure there are two stiffeners, but however in the discussed problem only one stiffener was there. I hope, student, you understood the discussions what we had in today's class, right? We'll once again see the other numeric problems in the next class, right? If you like the discussions what we had in today's class, you just write and you click like, share, comment, and as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel, right? We'll meet with another discussion of a few more two three problems that are the design of the wall stud and design of the column and design of the beams in the next class. Till then, bye bye, students, right?